So, lesson 1-4, adding real numbers. Were you racing me to the light?
Yeah.
We don't want all of them off though. I actually got a new bulb last night, so we should be able to just have the middle set off and everything else should be okay. Can still read it?
Yeah.
So it should be a little bit brighter than what it was yesterday. Okay, at the top of this, just some reminders. When you add fractions, make sure you have a common denominator. That bottom number needs to be the same when you add fractions together. When you add decimals, remember you are lining up the decimal points and adding up the correct place value columns. So adding tenths to tenths, adding hundredths to hundredths, adding ones to ones, tens to tens, so on and so forth. Adding integers with the same sign. If I add a positive to a positive, your answer is still going to be a positive. For example, 3 plus 2 is still positive 5, correct?
Yeah.
The same is true when you add two negatives. A negative plus a negative is still a negative. So if I have a negative 3 plus a negative 4, you have a total of you have a total of 7 negatives then. Negative 3 plus negative 4 is 7 total negatives. The difference is when one is positive and one is negative. Okay? So remember, when one number is positive and one number is negative, you subtract the numbers and take the sign of the larger number. So do you remember having questions like negative 4 plus 5? One's negative, one's positive, correct? Subtract them. What's 5 minus 4?
1.
1. What's bigger, 4 or 5?
5.
If it's positive, so my answer is also positive. Okay? Questions on any of those rules that we've had through 7th grade? Identity property of addition. Remember, if I want a number to keep its identity, I don't want the number to change, we simply add 0 to that number. So 4 plus 0 equals 4. 4 never changed. It kept its identity that entire time. Inverse property of addition. This is adding opposites. If I add 4 plus a negative 4, isn't that like saying, Rex, that I got $4 and then I turned around and spent $4? How much money do I now have? Nothing. I added a number to its opposite. So we call that the inverse property of addition. Inverse means to do opposite. Okay? Inverse means opposite. So you're adding a number to its opposite, you're going to get 0. I need you to draw this, a matrix. You're going to see these in your notes, and yes, it looks fancy. But it's simple to use. So in my matrix, each one of these matrices is like a table in itself, but the table is missing all of its labels. So for example, this first matrix might represent me going to my garden and picking vegetables, okay? And maybe I picked vegetables on Monday of this week. And in the top corner, maybe I had 4 tomatoes, 7 carrots, 3 peppers, and 6 onions, right? So each one of these represents a different item that I picked in my garden on Monday. My other matrix might be that I went to my garden on Wednesday, and what did I say the 4 represented? Tomatoes. Okay, so now maybe on Wednesday I had 2 tomatoes. And the 7, I don't know what I said, carrots, right? Maybe I have 5 carrots on Wednesday. The 3 was peppers, so maybe I only have 1 pepper now. And what did I say 6 was?
Onion.
Onions, okay? So maybe I have 2 onions now. Well, I want to know how much did my garden produce. So for my answer, I'm going to create another matrix. And I want to add the tomatoes to the tomatoes. How many tomatoes did I get completely?
6.
Yep. So I keep that in that upper left-hand corner. In the bottom left-hand corner, that was my carrots. So how many total carrots did I get this week?
12.
In the upper right-hand corner, that was our peppers, right? 3 and 1, so we have a total of 4 peppers. And in the bottom corner, that was our onions, so how many total onions did we end up with?
8.
And that's my answer. That's 4 points. That's all it is. It looks fancy, right? That's truly all a matrix is. So now, an element is each one of those numbers inside. Tony. An element is every single one of those numbers. So there's 4 elements in my answer. That question would be worth 4 points. Any questions on that? Use a number line to simplify each expression. So 3 plus a negative 5. They don't match, do they? One's positive, one's negative. So subtract 5 minus 3 is 2, which is bigger, 3 or 5?
5.
And it's negative, so our answer is negative. B, negative 3 plus 5. Again, different signs, correct? 5 minus 3 is 2. 5 is bigger, it's positive, so my answer is going to be positive. How about 3 negatives plus 5 more negatives? How many total negatives do we have? 8, right? Simplify each expression. Mine's already showing it to you. 12 plus a negative 23. 23
11.
minus 12 would be
11.
11. What's bigger, 12 or 23? 23 is bigger, and it's negative, so my answer is negative 11. Remember when I'm adding decimals, place value gets lined up. 6 plus 4 is 0. Bring down the decimal. 8 plus 6 is 14 plus 1 is 15. Both are negative. A negative plus a negative is going to be still a negative. You're adding 2 negatives together. In real life, this is like spending $6.40 and then you spent another $8.60. So you spent a total of $15. It's $15 you no longer have. Next question. The water level in a lake rose 6 inches and then fell 11 inches. Write an addition statement to find the total change in water level. If it rose 6 inches, is that positive or negative? And it's supposed to be an addition sentence, right? Then it fell 11 inches. Negative 11. I'm going to put the negative 11 inside parentheses to separate my addition sign from my negative sign. Now we're supposed to find the total change. One's positive, one's negative. What's 11 minus 6? 5, which is bigger. 5 or the 6 or the 11 is bigger, and it's negative, so my answer is negative. Negative 5 what? Inches. Negative 5 inches. Evaluate 3 6/10 plus a negative t for t equals negative 1.7. So let's write down our 3.6 and our plus sign. Now you have 2 choices. Inside parentheses it says negative t, right? But what does it say here? Positive t. So if a positive t is a negative 1.7, what's a negative t going to equal?
1.7.
Positive 1.7. You understand the difference? This says positive t, this says negative t. So if a positive t is a negative 1.7, doesn't a negative t have to be the opposite of that? So then in the parentheses, I could write a positive 1.7. Another way of doing this, I would have to put the negative sign from the t. So the negative sign is in front, right? And then I'm replacing the t. Well, the t is a negative 1.7. What's a negative times a negative? So don't I still get back to that positive 1.7? You need to decide which one of those works best for you. Are you going to change right away to the negative version of it? Or are you going to do the negative times the negative? Now, I like it like this, because that's a pretty easy question for me. What's 6/10 plus 7/10? 13/10, right? And I'd have to carry the 1 to the ones column. So 3 plus 1 would be 4, plus the other 1 would be 5. This would be 5.3. Or I could add off to the side, lining up those decimal points. If a negative times a negative times x, if x is a negative 4. We have to be very careful how we write this down. Let's start on the outside. There's my negative sign, and then my parenthesis, then my negative sign, and then my parentheses. What are we replacing that x with inside? Negative 4. And then I'm going to finish my parentheses. In the order of operations, we have to do inside parentheses first, correct? Okay, so we're going to zoom in here. What's a negative times a negative 4? Okay, so we took care of those inside. We have not taken care of the one on the outside now. So what's that negative times 4 going to equal? Negative 4 is correct. Questions so far? A scuba diver who's 88 feet below sea level begins to ascend to the surface. Ascend means to go up. Descend means to go down. Okay? So ascend means they are going up. So he's 88 feet below sea level. Write an expression to represent the diver's depth below sea level after rising any number of feet. Do we know the number of feet he's going up? That's an unknown, right? So let's have n equal the number of feet that he's doing what? Isn't that the number of feet that he rose? As it says, write an expression to represent the diver's depth below sea level after rising any number of feet. We don't know how many feet he's going up, correct? So that's what our variable is standing for. That's our unknown. Where did this diver start at?
88 feet.
88 feet below sea level. So what kind of a number is that?
Negative.
It's a negative 88 feet. And if he's ascending, are we taking away numbers or adding numbers? We're adding. And what are we adding to that?
And
Correct. We don't know how many feet he's going up. B, find the new depth of the scuba diver after rising 37 feet. Well, rising 37 feet, isn't that what we just said our variable was representing? So we're just going to replace it. Negative 88 plus, is that 37 positive or negative? It's positive. They don't match, do they? One's positive, one's negative. So we are going to subtract 88 minus 37. 88 is bigger and it's negative, so my answer is negative. So negative 51 what? Feet. Or I would say he is 51 feet below sea level. Questions? Okay, so our last one should be our matrix. So in our matrix, this one's just a little bit bigger. Instead of having 4 numbers in the table, we have 6 numbers in the table, or in the matrices. So I'm going to create a larger matrix, because I'm going to have to put my values in the same locations, because upper left and upper left have to be added together. Top middles have to be added together. How many points would this be worth? 12. How many answers are you going to record?
6.
You're going to record 6 answers, so there's going to be 6 points available. So let's start in the upper left-hand corner. What is a negative 6 plus 7?
1.
Positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive, because 7 is bigger and it's positive. Do you want to go across the top still or go to the bottom? Bottom. So you want to do 2 3/10 plus 11 1/10, which is 13 4/10. Okay? Top middle. 8 6/10 plus negative 5 4/10.
3 2/10.
Correct. So we're doing bottom and middle now. 5 plus 3.
8.
Upper right-hand corner, 11 plus negative 2.
9.
And bottom right, negative 3 plus negative 1. Negative 4. Questions on adding real numbers?